morning. And apart from the killer turkeys of Suffolk, it's a day to talk about patriotism and leadership. Blood. My next guest is the co-author of a book that should contain a very serious health warning on the cover. Two members of the Russian Parliament who were making a documentary based on its contents were gunned down. Another member of the Duma who planned to publish extracts from the book was poisoned. And of course, as we all know, the book's other author, the co-author, Alexander Litvinenko, died in November from radiation poisoning here in London. Despite being warned by the FBI that a trip to the UK was too risky, I'm very glad to say that Juri Felshtinsky has travelled from New York to be with us. Thank you very much indeed for coming and taking this risk. Now, this is the book. It's banned in Russia still, and the central allegation in it, I suppose, is that there was a murderous, we used to call them KGB, but secret service plot, killed a lot of people to foment the war in Chechnya, which also brought Putin to power. That's the key allegation, is it?
This is the key allegation. This is the first book since Alexander Solzhenitsyn's books, which is prohibited in Russia. The documentary which was done was also prohibited in Russia. And unfortunately, a lot of people, as you told, who were connected to this book were killed. Yes, we claim that in September of 1999, when terrorist acts took place in several cities in Russia,
blowing up
apartment buildings, killing 300 people, which I believe still the worst terrorist case for Russia yet. Yes, we claim that this operation was organized by Russian Secret Service.
Now, it wasn't simply that, it was that this, by your account, brought Vladimir Putin to power, and he has pursued the authors of this book and the story ever since.
Well, this is a historical fact. The historical fact is that the Second Chechenian War was started the next day after the last attempt to blow up the building, and that Putin came to power because he was kind of promoted by this event.
Now, BBC interviewed Mr. Lugovoy in Moscow and asked him if he was the killer, the assassin who'd used the polonium to kill Litvinenko, and he perhaps not surprisingly said no. But you believe it was him, and you believe the Russian state was certainly behind this. Now, why? You had a conversation, I think, with a Russian general a few years back.
Well, first of all, we have too much information now to claim that this was state-sponsored operation, that this was definitely an operation conducted by the Russian Secret Service, which is the FSB. I believe we know now at least two people who definitely participated in this operation. One is Mr. Lugovoy, another one is Mr. Kovtun. Both of them are the FSB officers. I think there is a third person whom we still do not know and who probably was the major player.
And you actually saw Lugovoy in London by accident,
by accident. On 12th of October, when I came to London, I met Lugovoy on Piccadilly Street. Ironically, when I talked to Scotland Yard about this, they told me that I'm mistaken because they had no records of Lugovoy being in London on 12th of October. And I submitted the whole bunch of proofs for them that they were here.
No.
But you were right. In 2000, in May, I had a conversation with the FSB general, discussing with him the fate of Alexander Litvinenko when Litvinenko still was in Moscow. And we basically knew that the FSB, of course, targeted him. And I went to negotiate the deal, whether there are any conditions under which the FSB would allow him to live alive and quietly in Moscow. And the general honestly explained me that there is no way Litvinenko would be left alone. And at one point he told me that, look, if I ever meet him again, I will kill him with my own hands. And he was a strong man.
I mean, we should emphasize that the Kremlin denies all of this, says they had nothing to do with it. And indeed, Russian investigators are coming to this country probably to interview all sorts of Russian exiles here. They want to talk to Mr. Berezovsky and others.
Well, first of all, Russian government, of course, denied always everything. They denied the first order state, they denied the murder of the former president of Chechnya, which was killed several years ago, and people were arrested, and they happened to be from the Russian Secret Service. So this is not surprising, although they are denying it. What is surprising probably is they are taking very subtle movement here, question of plenty questions to people in cannibalization with murder, although they know quite well that at least people who actually participate in murder, like Kovtun and Zavoy, are walking free now in Moscow.
But when the Russians, when the Kremlin say that you and your colleagues have an agenda, that you want to get rid of Putin ultimately, that's true, isn't it?
Well, we want to get rid of Putin not because we do not like his face or do not like his last name. We want to get rid of Putin because he created a system when people are not safe not only in Russia and in Moscow, but in Great Britain. And they use these two cities. What's going to happen next?
The FBI told you not to leave, suggested to you that you should not leave America and come to Britain because it was too dangerous for you. Do you fear for your own personal safety now?
Well, the security question always was an issue since we started to deal with this project. And as you know, unfortunately, there are deaths around in connection with this book. But I think the question is not how safely I could live my life. I think the question is how safely we can live our life. And again, how London is safe for the British citizens, first of all, because I'm here for a short time and you are here for the rest of your life, I hope.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
The why.